So, good morning and good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We will be discussing the topic of gone but not for long and why these leaders return to RBC Wealth Management. I'm Amiksha Patel, Senior Director of Brand Strategy at Fairygodboss. For those of you who are not familiar with Ferrygodboss, we are an employer branding and recruitment marketing solution that really helps companies attract, engage, and hire professional and technical women. Through our platform, we offer a variety of free resources, such as our anonymous company reviews, our job board, our articles around career content and career advice, virtual events, live webinars, and more to really attract companies and to help companies enhance their employer brand, develop diversity-focused recruitment strategies, and build that diverse candidate pipeline. So I'd like to just mention a few things before I get started. I want to let everyone know that we will be taking questions at the end of this webinar today, and you can really ask them as yourself or anonymously by using the QA feature at the bottom bar of your screen. We will also be recording this session today, and we will be sending it out as a follow-up, so you can feel free to rewatch anything you may have missed. So first of all, I just want to start off by thanking our wonderful sponsors of today's conversation, RBC Wealth Management. For more than a century, RBC Wealth Management, a division of RBC Capital Markets LLC, has really provided trusted advice and wealth management solutions to individuals, families, and institutions. They are a global organization bringing their diverse expertise and deep knowledge to the sophisticated financial needs of their clients around the world. Forward-looking, innovative, and committed to helping their clients thrive and communities prosper, RBC Wealth Management is the firm you can depend on to help you achieve your financial goals. So thank you everyone for being here today. And now I'd really like to just introduce our panelists from RBC Wealth Management. We have Malia Haskins, Wealth Strategist, Suzanne Sweeney, Branch Director, and Beth Rafferty, Branch Director. I'll let you go ahead and give you guys a brief moment to introduce yourselves.
Hi, my name is Suzanne Sweeney, and I'm the Administrative Complex Manager for Washington, D.C. Previously, I worked as the Admin Complex Manager for the New York City office from 2013 to 2019.
Hi, I'm Malia Haskins. I'm a Senior Wealth Strategist with RBC Wealth Management. I've been with the firm a couple of times. Obviously, that's why I'm participating in the panel, but I started in 2004 as a wealth strategist and continued until 2020. Was gone for from January of 2020 until May of this year, returning in basically the same role, but also took on a management role, managing our internal wealth strategists.
Great. Thank you, both of you, for sharing that and being here today. Now we can, now I'd like to kind of go into our Q&As. And the first question really is around what initially attracted you to a career with RBC Wealth Management?
I can jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. I'll jump in here. So I had actually worked for a predecessor of RBC back in the late 1980s. It was Dane Bosworth at the time. And I worked in an area called asset-based securities. I was attending law school, and after I had practiced for a few years, I found that, practicing law wasn't what I thought it would be, and, fell into a role as a consultant for a competitor. And then in 2004, one of the colleagues that I had worked with at the competitor had joined RBC in an effort to build out their wealth management and trust services platform. And he reached out and said that there was an opportunity as a wealth strategist. And so having some perspective with regard to the culture and the organization, and being very interested in the particular role itself, that's how I made my way back in 2004. And then it took, I guess, stepping away for a bit to realize, I always felt like RBC was home, and I left for some personal reasons. And then, COVID came a bit about, and, you know, uh, with all that I kind of experienced at the engagement that I had gone to in the interim, I really learned to appreciate the supportiveness, the cultural. Um, I guess culture is kind of cliche, but I really learned to appreciate the uniqueness of the culture, the supportiveness, and it really stems from leadership on down. As a woman and as a single mother, having flexibility and having, uh, an employer that, understands that everybody has a life and has to balance that. That was in part what brought me back to RBC.
Great. And so I love hearing that kind of story of, being a boomerang employee, how you came back. And Suzanne, I'd love to kind of describe why you also returned, because I know you are also a boomerang employee, which means at some point you had left RBC Wealth Management. So can you describe, why you returned, the company's culture, and how you impacted your decision to return?
For all the reasons that were just listed, is exactly the same reasons that I wanted to come back to RBC. I feel like RBC is home. It's an extremely supportive atmosphere. The managers are always have an open door policy. It is something where, they let you do your job, and they let you know like that you use your knowledge that you've gained throughout your experience throughout, on Wall Street in this capacity. But if you ever need help, if you ever need another idea, if you ever need another, opinion, they always pick up the phone. There's always somebody to help. There's somebody always above you that will be like, yes, let's do it this way. Let's try it. Great ideas. It is exactly the same thing. It's a home to me. I'm so happy to be back. When I came back, it was just like within the first month, I felt just so at peace of being back, and just with the supportive nature and the great reputation. The culture is second to none.
And
Great.
can I
Thank
piggyback
you.
on that just a little bit?
Absolutely, Malia.
I have to say summarily, I feel like it's values and action. And Suzanne, I totally concur. I think RBC truly is a special place because our corporate core values and our business priorities and practices align. We walk the walk. I believe RBC is forward thinking, forward looking, innovative, but at the core, it's driven by integrity, and we're committed to excellence. Now, I realize that no place of employment is perfect, but I think the fact that we, combine our values, or the corporate values, with the culture of a small firm, and allowing us to offer the resources of a larger firm, distinguishes us. We really do deliver, I think, quality advice and products. We do it with integrity, and I think with a focus on personal relationships. And you hear those values being promoted at other competitors and other employers, because it resonates with clients. But I think to actually deliver on that is difficult. And what I see is that RBC does it. I mean, we really do it. And again, that carries through to just how RBC treats its employees, from leadership on down. So I'll share a story. When I, joined in 2004, My father died 4 months after I had started with RBC. I'd hardly been with the firm long enough to really establish what I thought were, deeper relationships. But at the funeral for my father, there were about 10 of my coworkers that came. And to me, I was shocked. I was blown away. But that's, that I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional because it was truly impactful to me. That support, it's part of the culture. And to me, it's hard to find that other places. So anyway, that's kind of the end of my summary there. Thanks for letting me interject.
Wow, that's beautiful. It's really touching. Thank you for sharing that. And we'd love to kind of share with the audience what a typical workday looks like for you. And maybe Malia, you can start there.
Oh, sure. Well, a typical day is really full of a variety of activities. So our group provides advice around wealth transfer. So what that means is we work with our advisors to deliver advice around legacy planning for our clients. Typically, we are involved with clients of a higher net worth, 5 million or more of investable assets. So I spend, I would say, a good deal of time reviewing existing estate documents and preparing summaries of those, working on fielding calls from advisors just with general questions about the current state of estate tax and income tax laws. I'm also a player coach, as I mentioned, and so also, my day can entail, coaching or supporting our internal strategists. So really, what I love about it is that no day is the same, but as a typical day, it challenges me from different angles and perspectives, and I think that's probably why I've been able to stay as a wealth strategist or be in the role as a wealth strategist, is that I have always felt challenged personally and professionally because, a typical day is always full of interesting commentary, interesting dialogue, and, it's just a great, I feel blessed to have this particular role. So, Suzanne?
I couldn't agree more. I do love the question on a typical day because there really is not a typical day. And that's what I love so much about this job. My role is actually to make sure that the complex is running smoothly and efficiently. And that encompasses a lot of different things. So one day I could be dealing strictly with HR and dealing with the recruiters, with FAs, making sure their team is staffed properly, looking through resumes, interviewing candidates. But then the next day, I could be dealing with something completely different with operational in nature, whether it's trade related or an account related or some kind of interest that we need to fix or anything dealing with clients. So that is the thing I love so much about this job, is that it is a day to day, it's something new.
Great. Thank you, Suzanne. And I know that we now also have Beth Rafferty on the call. So, Beth, I'd love to kind of just let you give a brief intro, and then I'll go into the next question.
Sure. I'm so sorry I was late. What are the chances a transformer would blow at this little house in Kentucky that we're staying at? And now I'm in some parking lot 10 miles away. So I'm sorry. Glad to be here. So I'm Beth Rafferty. I'm a branch director in our Rockville, Maryland office, and actually on Monday start as the branch director in our Washington, D.C. office, which is slightly bigger than Rockville. And I spend my days making sure that the financial advisors and their teams have what they need. And then I'm also a resource to clients. I'm client facing if they have any concerns or questions, praise too. They're welcome to call me. And so I deal with clients often as well too. So, and I've been with RBC since 2004, but left for a brief second in 2019.
Great, thank you. So now, can you talk about what work-life balance means to you and how you're able to achieve it working at RBC Wealth Management? How do you find balance between work and family and home? And Beth, I'll let you start.
Oh, sure. I think actually the question's probably better posed for my husband and my children. I think that they know that my job is really important to me. I'm not sure that I could be a stay-at-home mom, but they know that what I do is important to me and to a lot of people that I work with, and then of course our clients that we deal with. But they also know that they're the most important. And of course, there are times when I'm not able to be home for dinner, or I have to leave early for a breakfast meeting and can't get them on the bus. But they come first, and they always have. And the firm RBC is so supportive of that. I think that I don't know. It's a great company that has always told me to put my family first, and so that's what I've done. People know that I do 110% at the office, and then 110% at home too. But they come first.
Great. Suzanne?
I concur with Beth. I am a single woman right now, but anytime that there has been something where RBC understands that you have a life and that's something that's very important to you and that you can do your job as well. But it's just one of the great places that will afford you to do a great work-life balance if you have to do something outside the office.
Great. And to my next question, and I'll have Malia start there. What are some of the benefits women can expect if they were to pursue a career at RBC Wealth Management? Are they mentoring, networking, and development opportunities?
Yeah, great. RBC really believes in diversity and inclusion. It's really the engine for innovation and progress and for overall economic prosperity for us and for our clients. And I think with the diverse workforce that we've developed, it's always a work in progress, but through that diverse workforce, we develop, ideas, and help people in our communities grow. We are heavily involved in the communities that we are, located in, just very philanthropic as an organization. But just the idea that an inclusive environment helps to create opportunity, and it empowers people to grow and just achieve more of their goals. So, during my tenure, which basically since 2004, I've seen RBC significantly enhance the resources that are in place to connect and empower women. The Women's Association of Financial Advisors, or what we refer to as WAFA, was launched 30 years ago. And it's recognized, in fact, nationally as one of the strongest women-focused conferences in the US. It happens every year at a different venue. And the goal is really to provide a supportive, inclusive environment for women professionals and to give those advisors a forum to connect and to share best practices. And for employees that are not female financial advisors, there's Women Empowered, or WE, and it's available to all employees, but it's focused on events and resources and information focusing on women and the issues that they encounter in the workplace and personally. And in preparing for this panel discussion, I took a look at the membership for WE, and I was pleased to see that there are a significant number of, male male members of the organization, because I think their perspective is helpful, and I think it's also helpful that they are interested in understanding some of the unique challenges that women do face, in the workplace. So, again, RBC kind of cutting edge, kind of, I think, forward looking and really putting its money where its mouth is, and, creating platforms to support the values that are important and along the lines of diversity and inclusion.
Great. And Beth, anything to add there before I move on to my next question?
Not much. I mean, I agree fully with Malia. I think that we have such an inclusive community. The firm works very hard across all, all levels of employees to make sure that people feel supported and included. And Malia touched on a lot of the formal organizations or communities that we have. But I think that RBC also recognizes, or we're still, unfortunately, I think that finance is still a male-dominated industry, and we have a lot to add. And RBC recognizes the female voice and the value that we bring, and really wants to help encourage us to continue to, make some changes. And it's a wonderful community of supportive and inclusive of people. So not much to add.
Thank you. So to kind of piggyback off that, and I know some of it was answered within the question, but maybe Suzanne, why do you recommend RBC Wealth Management as an employer for women? And what's your favorite thing about working at RBC Wealth Management?
Everything that Malia and Beth just said are exactly why I think RBC supports women. And I can almost attest to being on Wall Street for a very long time. I have never encountered so many successful FAs that are women, especially in my complex. It is really a wonderful thing to see. And it is extremely it's just the support that they give. And that's exactly the same reason why I love working at RBC, is just because it's just a great support system. It is just encouraging, and it's just a wonderful atmosphere.
Great. And what skills or traits do you think are the key to success to be at RBC Wealth Management?
Is that it for me?
Malia, Beth?
Sure.
A willingness to learn is what I would say. As the ladies have touched on before, every day is different. There's so much to learn. We've been doing this for decades, the three of us, but it's always something new, and we have to be open to learning. So that's what I would say, as a willingness to learn.
Yeah, can-do attitude.
Yeah, I agree. I think, willingness to learn, can-do attitude, treating others with respect and integrity, not asking others to do things that you wouldn't do yourself, and reliability. Do what you say you will do when you say you will do it. And I think all 5 of those particular characteristics are respected at RBC, and are things that, probably in general will help you have a successful career. But I do think it kind of all relates back to that core corporate value of integrity, of just, being committed, being true to your word, being open and inclusive. So I guess those are probably the unique things that would help make people successful here at RBC.
Great, thank you. And what open roles are there at RBC Wealth Management? Do you have any general tips for navigating the job search process at RBC Wealth Management specifically?
I do. We have all our jobs posting at jobs.rbc.com. So I always suggest people to look there for the jobs. And I don't think that you should just choose one job. I think you should be open to a few different jobs. I'm not saying go in and apply to every job that's on the website, but if you have one idea, you might be able to go into another. If there's another posting, think about that posting as well. The other thing that I think is really, really important is networking. I know I got my job through networking at RBC, and I know that there's a million times that I receive a resume through an FA that sends it to me. And just recently, I received a resume for a woman who did not have any Wall Street experience, and she was awesome. She was a great interviewer, I thought she'd be a great asset to RBC. So I passed her along to my boss. My boss passed her along to Beth Rafferty, and the success story is she's going to be starting on Monday as the training program. So she networked perfectly. She followed up, but not too much. It wasn't every day, but I think she's going to be a strong asset to RBC. And I think that networking is important too.
Great. Malia,
Yeah,
anything
great.
to add?
Yeah, I think that was really an excellent, summary, Suzanne. So thank you. I would add, in addition to the networking specifically, if you find a role or roles that you're interested in, find out the names of the individuals that you'll be interviewing with. And obviously, there are so many resources out there now that you can do some research on LinkedIn, and find out, some, additional information that might be helpful to help you connect with the individuals that you're interviewing with. I think too, asking other persons who are in the industry. So asking, competitors, people that at competitors, what their opinion is of RBC and why, I think is a general that I think would give, some good insight. I liked Suzanne's comment, be persistent, obviously follow up, but not too much. You certainly don't, I wouldn't encourage every day, but, at a reasonable pace, depending upon, the time frame that you're working with. And I will say, I know we actually do have a couple of roles that are open in our Wealth Strategies group presently. The senior wealth strategist role out in Southern California is open and currently posted. And then we will be posting a position based in Minneapolis for a senior internal wealth strategist role. So if that resonates with anyone out there, certainly visit the site that Suzanne referenced and seek it out. It's a wealth strategist, or Wealth Strategies is the name of the group and the role. So I know that's out there, and take a look, and if it's of interest, go through the formal process of applying, but certainly reach out to me directly as well. I'm happy to, talk informally, do informational interviews as well, just if it's anything that resonates. So.
Great. Thank you so much. And so before we go over to the audience Q&A, I have one last question for each of you, actually. And what would be the one piece of advice that you would want to share with your younger self? And maybe Beth, I'd have you start there.
I can only give one. There are so many I would tell my younger self 20 years ago getting into this business. But I guess if I only had to pick one, I would say to believe in myself a little bit more. I didn't major in finance. I didn't know anything about the business. And so I questioned myself a lot. And I wish I hadn't been so doubtful. I just wish I had believed in myself and known how capable I was, again, with a willingness to learn and working hard. So believe in yourself is probably what I would say.
Yeah.
Great. Suzanne?
My answer was almost the same as Beth, is don't doubt yourself. Just, you can do it. And, if there's a chance to doubt yourself, don't do it. Just you keep going on. You're smart, and forge ahead. You can do it.
Great.
Yeah.
Malia?
Well, and like Beth, and I'm sure Suzanne too, it was hard to narrow down what that advice would be to my younger self. But really, I would say it's live your life, not someone else's. And by that, I mean really follow your own path, and don't judge your success by what someone else's definition of what your career path should look like. Be open to possibilities. I started out practicing law, much to the chagrin of my family, but it leverages many of the skill sets that I have, gained through, practicing law and some exposure to different areas of law. But it wasn't a traditional career path, and at times I doubted it, but I couldn't be happier, and I couldn't probably be happier that I'm not necessarily practicing law, because I really don't like conflict. And, you know, uh, not that there isn't conflict everywhere, but as a daily session or a daily part of your life, seemed inherent in the practice of law. Hello.
Great. Okay, great. Thank you, all three of you, for those advice pieces. Now, if you don't mind, I'd love to kind of go to some Q&A questions asked by the audience. And one of the first questions was, how do women at RBC across locations stay connected? And maybe Beth, Suzanne, I think Malia may be frozen.
I think that the WAFA and the we that Malia that mentioned earlier is a great opportunity to stay connected. I also think that's a national resource to use, as well as I feel like if you can reach out to your manager, all managers pretty much speak to each other. So there's a lot of different resources that I strongly suggest that you look into.
Right. And how does RBC support you in terms of work-life balance? And I know you kind of touched on some of those pieces, throughout the conversation, but anything else you can add there?
May I jump in quickly?
Sure.
Yes.
I meant to mention it when you asked earlier about work-life balance. Years ago, my son was little. He was, 5 or 6, and I was at one of the offices, and I was talking to a group of people in the hallway, and and I said, I'm sorry, I really need to go. I promised my son I was going to take him to his Boy Scout meeting. We ended the conversation, and I left. And then a few weeks later, I was back in that office, and a senior advisor, she actually, you guys can Google her, Gail Winslow. She was the second woman registered with the New York Stock Exchange, got into the business in the 50s. I mean, like an icon in this business. But she pulled me, she said, Beth, may I speak to you? And I got kind of nervous. I was like, why does she want me? And I was afraid, because she's amazing, or she was amazing. She's passed, unfortunately. And she said, the last time you were here, I heard you apologize. You ended that conversation. You started the conversation. You started it by apologizing, and then you explained where you were going. And she said, were you sorry that you needed to go to that Boy Scout meeting? And I said, no, I was excited to go, and I promised him that I would go. And she said, so I never want you to apologize again. Don't apologize. And she said, and also don't feel like you need to explain yourself. Those people didn't need to know where you were going. You just say, I need to go now. And I think that that's exactly what RBC does, is help us. And there are people here to help the next generation of people do that too. I needed to go. I didn't need to apologize for leaving, and I didn't need to explain where I was going. I just needed to go. And I think that the firm does a great job of instilling that in all of us and helping us have that balance too. So go to the Boy Scout meeting.
Wow, I love that, Beth. Yes, that's great. That's a great story. So love it.
She was awesome.
What does career trajectory look like at RBC Wealth Management? Are there frequent opportunities for promotion or kind of lateral movement?
I do think that RBC offers great opportunity on movement and being promoted. Lots of times you can start as an associate and become an FA, go into the training program. Or as a manager, like I did from a CA. And I think Beth had a very similar trajectory as well. RBC is very strong in promoting and encouraging people to do their best and move on and be promoted. It's wonderful, wonderful opportunity and a wonderful company in that capacity.
I agree. I started as an unregistered sales assistant 20 years ago, or 20, however many years ago, 22 years ago, working for a financial advisor, and slowly worked my way up to being a branch director. And there were a group of people who helped me and knew that I was determined and a hard worker, and all of those things that Malia said, I delivered when I said I would. I work with integrity and I work hard. I'm not afraid to ask questions. And I think there's plenty of opportunity, and don't be afraid to go for it.
Great. What are the educational requirements and what are the starting positions within the company?
You don't need anything. I didn't. I had no idea what I was doing. But then eventually you should do something. You can take the Series 7 and the 66, the licensing exams. Those are really the barriers to entry. Now it's the SIE, and then the Series 7, and then the Series 66, 3 exams that you study for and take, at a Prometric center. Those are the ones that help you move up in the business. And there are plenty of employees who don't have them, and they do well too, but the licensing is really the key, I think.
I can agree. Yeah. And RBC is very encouraging with the licensure.
Awesome. And one final question. Oops, sorry. Go ahead, Malia.
Am I back in? Okay.
Yes.
Thanks. I was just going to say from, the department that I work in is focused on planning. And so obviously experience in financial planning is, helpful. You don't necessarily, there's a designation as a CFP, Certified Financial Planner. It's not necessarily a requirement if there is, if you've got, a depth of experience. And then the licensures are, definitely something that are required. And so the 7 and 66 is something that if you don't have, I know at least within our group, we will help you along the process of attaining those, typically within the first, 6 to 9 months of employment. And then too, for some of the more senior positions, having a professional designation, such as a JD or a CPA designation is again, very, very helpful, but we value experience. And so if you've got the appropriate experience, we can certainly, you could certainly be considered for a role in the strategies group. But again, back for just kind of the overall planning experience is definitely valued. A CFP is certainly a great credential to have. So.
Great. Thank you, Malia. So a couple more questions. What do you think are some of the traits women have that make them successful financial advisors or wealth strategists? Who wants to take that?
I'm happy to go, or Malia, anyone.
Yeah, go ahead, Beth.
Beth?
Well, I think that we could get ourselves into trouble here maybe, but I think that women are excellent listeners and great communicators. And so much of this business is forming relationships with people and taking care of them and working through concerns and fears and reassuring them. Of course, there are numbers and there are plans and there are laws and all of that. Let's not deny that there's all of that to do too, but what we're really doing is helping people sleep at night. And I think that women tend to be a little bit more, I hope I don't get in trouble, be a little bit more thorough. They're a little bit slower and pay more attention to details and pick up on little breadcrumbs that people leave. They hear things that others may not. I think we're great at it.
Great. Love it. And one final question, what has been the biggest challenge you faced in your role and how did you overcome it? And maybe we can ask each of you that question as we wrap this up. Who wants to go first? Suzanne?
Oh no, I was just trying to think. I'm sorry, nothing came right to mind. And I don't mean to I just have to say that any problem that I've had, I've been able to deal with it head on with the help of management. And so I haven't, knock wood, had a major crises in a very long time. So if I have it, I would just go to management and deal that way. And they've always helped me. So has RBC been supportive. So I apologize. I don't have an exact example.
No worries. Malia?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. Probably the biggest challenge that I faced was back in 2015 and 16. I was a single mom at the time, and my only sibling came down with or was diagnosed with colon cancer. And I have no other siblings. He was my only sibling. And my father had passed away, and my mother was, elderly and in a position to try to take care of him. And so I really had to jump in and, support both of them. I still had my son, who at the time was in high school, I think he was a freshman in high school. And I was, trying to balance a role that was, challenging. I was traveling at the time, and I went to my manager and asked for, because I seriously had considered taking a family leave, and we talked through it, and through making some adjustments, they were able to, accommodate my situation. My travel was lessened, and so I was able to. When you're doing many things like that, you feel like you're doing a lot and doing nothing well. And so we got through it. Unfortunately, my brother did wind up, passing away, but that was that was super challenging. And without the support of RBC and even the employee resources that are available, they helped. I had questions that I leveraged that resource, and I'm sorry, I'm not remembering the name of the direct line, but it's basically a resource for employees to call. And I had questions about trying to find out resources for helping to deal with someone with cancer, and then helping somebody who is caring for someone with cancer. And they were able to give me some options to explore. And so without the support of the full, I guess, suite of services here at RBC, I don't know how I would have ever gotten through that particular period of time. So
Oh, thank you for sharing. It's great. And Beth?
I think, we've all faced challenges, I think. And again, the firm has so many wonderful resources, whether they're HR related or, as Suzanne said, from the management side. And I remember years of 2008, 2009, we merged. RBC bought a small regional firm, Ferris Baker Watts, based in DC. And and I was in HR at the time, and it was hard. We were merging two companies, and I was getting a bunch of new employees, and things were communicated differently, and people had different expectations. It just was a tough time. Things were changing for employees, and all I remember was telling myself to just keep showing up, just keep showing up. And some days it was so hard and it was awful, but just keep showing up, and the next thing you know, you'll be through it, and it'll be a new challenge to have 6 months later. So I don't have a great answer, but just keep showing up is what I would say there.
Great, great. Love hearing all three of those. And one more did come in, which, I'd like to ask is what are the travel requirements at RBC Wealth Management?
I'll jump in because I do some travel relative or pre-COVID, I should say. Was in a position where I did do travel. When I initially started my role, travel wasn't really a big part of the equation, but as the group evolved and our, I guess our prevalence within the firm and the advisors began to utilize the planning services that were available through our group. I would say at probably the height of my travel, I was traveling about 50 to 55% of the time. And I covered a region that geographically took me to different states. I was on the East Coast. I was in the Midwest. And then for various client relationships, I, travel to wherever the client is, if the advisor is located in one of the complexes that I cover. So, much of it was via plane, some of it was a driving territory. Obviously, COVID came and, the travel basically stopped. And so we adapted and met with clients through, virtual means. And we found that's worked reasonably well. But as, we move into a time where those restrictions maybe at some point in the future are lessened, then I expect that we will probably not do as much travel simply because I think we've learned that we are able to communicate and stay connected with people, with the technology that we have. But I would still see it in our wealth strategies group, at least for the external wealth planning consultants and wealth strategists, I would expect travel to be roughly 30 to 35% of the role on an external side. For our internals, they're not, required to travel and don't have travel. So I hope that answered the gist of the question that was asked. But I know Suzanne and Beth, it's probably a little bit different for you. So I'll let you guys speak to the travel that you experience.
Yeah, I would say it all depends on the position, but travel could be almost to less than 1% to maybe around 20% for an FA. And once again, it all depends on the position, but I would say anywhere from that realm, about 20% mostly.
For me as a branch director, I don't travel much. A few trips a year, and they're actually mostly firm, but I'll go up to Minneapolis for our headquarters, or go to, as Malia mentioned, to the WAFA conference, which changes locations, but I don't travel much. I'm definitely home significantly more than I'm on the road.
And I think it has changed due to Zoom, what Malia said. Definitely the world has changed, and I think travel has lessened greatly.
Great. Well, thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation and all of the answers that you guys had to share about RBC Wealth Management. That was great. So I really appreciate it. Thank you for all of our listeners today. And thank you, Malia, Beth, and Suzanne. And thanks for being here. And I hope you all have a great day. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.